In January 2019, the Australian government commenced implementation of the Modern Slavery Act 2018. This act requires applicable entities to take reasonable steps to ensure there is no modern slavery connected to the goods and services they procure. This module has been developed to help you understand what modern slavery is and what you and your business can do to practice ethical procurement practices and rid slavery from global operations and supply chains. Course outline. At the completion of this module, you will be able to define and explain modern slavery, what it means and what it encompasses. Identify how modern slavery can manifest in supply chains. The reason why this is important to ARA, the ARA Modern Slavery Program Roadmap, and understanding your role in combating modern slavery. Let's get started. Understanding modern slavery. Modern slavery is a global issue based on the following statistics. 2/3 of victims are women and girls. The International Organization of Migration estimates that there are 40.3 million victims of modern slavery globally, 24.9 million in forced labor, US $354 billion of at-risk products being imported by G20 countries. In 2018, there were 15,000 people living in conditions of modern slavery in Australia. What is modern slavery? Modern slavery is an umbrella term that includes practices like slavery, servitude, human trafficking, and forced labor. There are many different categories that sit within these types, and they often overlap. So a victim of one type of slavery can often be a victim of two or three. Australia's Modern Slavery Act for 2018 defines modern slavery as including 8 serious forms of criminal exploitation, and these are the following. Debt bondage. A victim's services are pledged as security for a debt or loan. Worst forms of child labor. Situations where children are exploited through slavery or similar practices, including for sexual exploitation or engage in hazardous work which may harm their health, safety, or morals. Slavery, where a victim is owned as a commodity, can be an object for purchase and their labor is forced in an unrestricted way. Forced labor. A victim is either not free to stop working or not free to leave their place of work. Deceptive recruitment for labor or service. A victim is deceived about the work and they will be exploited through any type of slavery. Forced marriage. Coercion, threats, or deception are used to make a victim marry. Servitude. A victim's personal freedom is significantly restricted and they are not free to stop working or leave their place of work. Trafficking in persons. The recruitment, harboring, and movement of a person for exploitation through modern slavery. In each case, a victim is exploited or deprived of their freedom through the use of coercion, threats, violence, or deception. Modern slavery in supply chains. Many of the world's modern slaves are exploited in global and local supply chains. Modern slavery is often hidden deep inside the supply chains, which are more complex and faster moving than ever before. Most Australians are unknowingly benefiting from modern slavery in the food we purchase, the clothes we buy, the suppliers we choose, and the companies in which we invest. Common high-risk industries include textiles procurement, construction projects, information technology, and cleaning services. Why is this important to ARA? ARA Property Services' goal is to be compliant with Australian legislations and to take the lead in addressing modern slavery risks within our operations and supply chains. The Modern Slavery Act 2018 established the reporting requirement for applicable businesses in which ARA Property Services is included. The Act requires us to prepare annual modern slavery statement covering how the company continually assess the modern slavery risks within our operations and supply chains and how we improve the responses over time. There is no place for modern slavery in the Australian community or in the global supply chains of Australian goods and services. ARA Modern Slavery Program Roadmap. Training. We will provide adequate support and training to ensure there is shared vision in the fight against modern slavery. The training will be conducted annually in interactive sessions to target the supplier network and ensure ongoing compliance. Compliance audit for suppliers. The ARA Supply Chain Audit Program will be conducted to assess, measure, track and enforce supplier practices against the ARA policy and code of conduct. Targeted audits will involve review and validation of documentation and records, prioritization of locations identified as being high risk, management and worker interviews, site visits resulting in developing corrective action plans as an outcome. Remediation. In consultation and mutual agreement with the supplier, corrective action plans will address contributing factors that have led to any current or potential modern slavery impacts, and to develop systems to prevent reoccurrence. Communication plan. We plan to establish a consistent communication plan for all of our suppliers for them to be kept informed about legal updates on modern slavery or any issues that may arise going forward. Your role. As our valued partner, you play a key role in helping us to combat modern slavery in the operations and supply chains of ARA. We will work with you to understand, identify and manage labour rights and modern slavery risks. Therefore, we expect your active participation in all of our programs and initiatives so you would be able to learn and adopt similar modern slavery program for your own operations and supply chains. What you can expect from ARA. Suppliers will be contacted to provide documentary evidence, complete a questionnaire, provide a statutory declaration, participate in interviews and possibly be subject to on-site visits as part of the audit program. The audit program will focus on the following audit scope to measure compliance against the ARA Supplier Code and Labour Standard Practice. Labour Standard Practice, responsible contracting, safe working conditions, worker engagement, and issue identification and remediation. We expect suppliers to be audited not more than once in a year, unless there are specific areas of concern that raise the need to audit more frequently. Any disruption to business will be minimized to ensure smooth continuity of service. In consultation with the supplier, corrective actions will be agreed upon with regular outcome meetings to follow for closing out actions. On occasions where a supplier is found to be non-compliant, every attempt will be made to work consultatively to promote best practice outcomes where practicable. However, where a supplier clearly demonstrates lack of commitment to the ARA Supplier Code, this may result in permanent contractual remedies being adopted. Commencing in financial year 2021, the SCA will run on an annual schedule supplemented by quarterly check-ins. Continuous communication plan and our support to address any concerns we may have regarding labour conditions. For more information about forced labour, please watch the short video.
He said I had to obey him because this was how Australian women were treated by their husbands.
She said if I refused, she would cancel my visa and send me back home.
Forced labour is a form of slavery which still exists in Australia. Forced labour is when someone coerces, threatens or deceives someone to work for them. They treat the person as a commodity and exploit them for profit or gain. Anyone can become a victim of forced labour. People forced into and held in these situations usually have some vulnerability that is exploited by perpetrators. Migrants are especially at risk because they may have vulnerabilities like visa status, low English language skills, limited options of other jobs, debts or families to support, and a lack of knowledge of laws and rights in Australia. Migrants on any visa can be exploited in any sector. Forced labour is not just low wages or bad working conditions. Some signs include being isolated with restrictions on movement, being deceived about work conditions and pay, having to work to pay off excessive debt, being threatened with violence, deportation, and other forms of coercion. All these things mean you have limited freedoms and control over your life, and they all amount to slavery under Australian law. People are often scared to report or seek help. They fear reprisals for themselves and their families and might not trust authorities. Some face physical and sexual abuse by their employers, who can also threaten violence and deportation. Identifying forced labour can be difficult. These questions can help you identify if someone might need specialised help. Can the person leave their job if they want to? Can they come and go as they please? Has the person or their family been threatened? What are their work and living conditions like? Has their passport been taken from them? Support is available. The most important thing to do if you suspect a case of forced labour is to ask the person what they would like to do. Situations could be dangerous for people or their families. It's critical that you respect their privacy, confidentiality and safety and obtain people's consent before taking any action. If you're unsure and want to discuss the case further, contact Red Cross. For information and confidential legal advice, contact Anti-Slavery Australia. If someone is in immediate danger, dial 000. To report a case of forced labour, call the Australian Federal Police hotline.
Thank you for your participation in this training as we seek to continuously improve our performance in managing human and labour right risks in our company supply chains. If you would like more information, have suggestions to improve this training, or would like to recommend it to someone in your organisation, please contact compliance@arapropertyservices.com.au.